So guys, let's start this lovely journey of mean stack live training. Before we jump onto that, let me brief you and set some ground rules. I want this session to be as interactive as it can, like as we go. So make sure you bump in every yes or no whenever you want. Make sure you are able to let me know like if you have any questions, anything which is there. Like keep on pinging, keep on discussing because the more you discuss, the more knowledge you get. So it's like it goes in the strategy. Whatever you give, so shall you get back, right? So on this note, let's start with this mean stack live session. Now we'll be discussing about the mean stack. Before we jump on to mean stack, let me tell you about myself. So about me, guys, I am Aditya. I'm a master of technology from BITS Pilani. I'm having around 7 years of experience of professional application development. Now, what is the difference between a enterprise level and a normal application? An application in which there are millions of requests coming in each second is termed as an enterprise grade application. And I've been working for the 7 years on the same. And for the past 2 years, I've been working on the mean stack in which I'm working on the application being developed in Angular, right? So on that note, I'll start with the session for the day. How many of you are aware about what is mean stack? Yes, guys. How many of you understand what mean stack actually is? Okay. Okay. So now let me know. So what does the mean stack stands for then? Quickly, any one of you, or I would say every one of you, in fact. Cool, cool. Yes, Express.js. What goes next? Angular. Correct. Perfect. Node and MongoDB. That's correct. So now, what is mean stack? And like the question which I hear on a daily basis, why is mean stack so popular? Just to put this thing in the right perspective, mean stack is popular just because it is the only stack in which the entire programming is in one language, which is JavaScript. If you pick up other stacks like C Sharp .NET, there your front end is in Angular or in HTML, JavaScript, and backend is in .NET. If you take LAMP, PHP, then HTML, and then MySQL, this is the only stack where everything is nothing but pure JavaScript. So till now, till initially very I'll give you a rough number just to give you an estimate. 95% of the websites you use today use JavaScript. So now you know like what JavaScript is and why is it so popular. So without wasting time, let us have an introduction to why mean stack is so popular and what are the use cases of it. As a career, like many a times we are often confused between choosing our career. Is mean stack the right career choice? Let me take you through this now. So now, to be very honest, mean stack is nothing but MongoDB, Express.js, Angular, and Node. It is all nothing but a combination of all these stacks turned together and which is used to build dynamic applications. Now, there are two types of web applications in the world. One is a static, so like whatever you see, like it's all there's static data and everything that is known as a static application. Application where you have data which is coming in dynamic form, which means the page is same, the difference lies in what data is being shown, right? That is known as a dynamic application. So mean stack is used to build dynamic web application. Now the main advantage or the main popularity lies in the reason that the mean stack is complete from the back end to the front end, everything is in JavaScript. So another question, how many of you are familiar with JavaScript? Guys, quickly, how many of you know JavaScript? Great, great brand, that's good. Now, the problem with other alternate stacks is that they need to have multiple languages being used, which makes the system a bit difficult to understand. So moving further on from here is how many of you have this question in mind? Mean versus MERN. Exactly, I knew. So don't confuse between this. So what is mean is MongoDB Express.js, Angular, and Node, and Mern is MongoDB Express.js, React, and Node. Now the advantage of using mean over Mern, the only advantage of using React over Angular is the ease which React provides. React is a library. Who owns React? Anyone? Who owns React? Great, Facebook. That's good, guys. That's good. So now this war is between the two of the biggest giants in the world. So Angular is by Google and React is by Facebook. But the only advantage which React has over Angular is the two-way is a virtual DOM which comes up, right? So Angular was popular because of its two-way data binding, and React is popular because of its virtual DOM. So let's have a quick introduction. So what is this? So type Angular is a framework. Now the problem with frameworks is that they are very hard coded. You can't pick up you so that there are certain code which may come extra with it. Whereas Angular is a library. So library is something like just including one script file and you are good to go. Now, languages. If you talk about language, Angular is based in TypeScript. So your entire code needs to be in TypeScript. Whereas in case of React, you can use either vanilla JS or JSX. Now, the architecture of the mean is component based. So everything what you make is supposed to be a component. This is not mandatory in the React. Now, data binding can be either one way or two way. Here, React supports only one way data binding. Now, DOM here is regular. So, what is DOM? The on the application, the page you see is known as DOM. So here it can be regular, and here it can be virtual also. Any questions, guys, over here? Any questions, guys, still here? Data binding. Okay, that's a good question. So what is data binding is like imagine like I have a element on the front. Now, whatever element you have for other for on the front page, or let me show it to you like over here. Now, okay, I'm sharing my screen. Let me know. Yeah. So now imagine I go to a page like say, let me go to any user form, right? Now, if you see over here, now imagine over here, like all these forms over here. Let me open a sign up page. Tell me any website, guys, any website quick. Oh, why not open Eduonix only? That's great. Yeah. Now, once I log in over here, so I log in. So now, whatever I'm entering over here, this should be available on the backend. So like whatever change is happening over here is happening simultaneously in the JS that is known as two-way data binding. So it can work on both the ways. Does it make sense, guys? Now, Sai, yes, what you are saying is partially correct. Uh, React does has component, but those components are nothing but they are small reusable parts of the code. Whereas Angular has a mandate to have a component. In React, you can have something as which is without a component, whereas in Angular that is not possible. Rohit, if you're unfamiliar with both, then I would suggest you to first get your familiarity with JavaScript, and then start with React first because it is linked with JavaScript, or get started with TypeScript and then move on to Angular. That's how I would suggest. Okay, now guys, moving on. We are very short of time. Let's quickly move on. Now the next thing is introduction to Node.js. So what is Node.js? Node is nothing but an open source platform which is cross-platform. Okay, how many of you understand what a runtime actually is? Yes, guys. How many of you understand what is a runtime? I find some raised hands, guys. Anyone who is raising hand can ask questions in the chat. I would be more than happy to answer. Now, guys, how many of you understand what a runtime actually is? Anyone, guys? Anyone? Now, once you're running an application, when the application is running on a server, That is known as a runtime. Like for example, to run Java applications, you need a JRE, which is Rahul, no. It's not like that. It's not the okay. Let me explain it over here like this. Now imagine I'm over here. Now this is my server. The server is nothing but a virtual machine, right? Which is it's something more or less like a more powerful computer which we have. Now over here, now to execute a code, like for example, I am writing a code over here, console.log. Now, to run this particular thing in my code, I need to be able to have a runtime where I can run this, right? That is known as a runtime. Because who will understand what is console? Who will understand what is log? Who will understand what needs to be done? All this is done on a runtime. Guys, does that make sense, everyone? Guys, keep on asking everything. Any questions you have, keep on asking. So what is Node? Node is nothing but a runtime. And this runtime is based in JavaScript. Now imagine, so you have to write a small part of the code. What you will do is you will create a JS file. You will start the server-side scripting over here. Now, what is server-side scripting? Something like say you are server-side script. We would be doing some examples of SSS today, in which we will be producing some server-side scripting to get some dynamic content. So you'll be working on that today. Sure, guys. Any questions? Okay, perfect. So moving on. Now, why is Node so popular? Node is popular because of its approach, which says that JavaScript everywhere. What that means is, what that means is you don't need to, like, so it will run on any platform, anything, and it has everything as JavaScript. So that's why it is a bit more famous. Any questions around that, guys? Now, one clarification I have for you, and most of you would be confused. Okay, Chiranjeev, server-side rendering means controlling what is shown on the UI on from the server itself. Correct? Okay. Now, what is a clarification that don't confuse that like because it's Node.js, it is JavaScript. No, it is Node.js is more or less like a like a structure, right? So like you don't consider that Node.js is a file. It is more or less like a platform which is given a name as Node.js, right? Now, the architecture. So what is the architecture? Now, whenever you open a website, like for example, you open google.com or you open any website for that matter, what happens is data is loaded asynchronously. So the architecture of Node is capable of handling asynchronous request. And due to which, since it is asynchronous IO, due to which you can have a good throughput and you can have scalability in the application. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions around that? Cool. Now, introduction to Express.js. So Express.js is a very easy to learn language. What is Express.js says is, so till now I have a server now. So like imagine this is my server running, right? But my front end or my request will come from here, from a client. Now, once a request comes from a client, this request should have a medium to talk about. And that medium is nothing but Express.js. So what is Express.js? Express.js is a minimal and a flexible Node.js web application framework. What it means is this framework is used to write the backend. Now, what is the backend? Backend is majorly your APIs, right? So you can write your robust API. You would be using Express today and would be creating the API for banking management today. Now, with the help of Express.js, you can get started with APIs real quick. Guys, any questions in that now? Any one of you? Cool. So Node is a server or a runtime. Express is a backend. And next comes, okay, now let me tell you how you install Express.js. To install Express.js, you would have to go to your application, make your directory, start the npm, and run the command, which is npm install express. Now, what is npm over here, guys? Anyone? What does npm stands for? So, what is the use of package manager? Now, understand this: Express, Node, Mongo, all of these are different packages. The problem with these packages is that they are maintained by a separate person or a separate company altogether. So, like React is written by Facebook, but it's a part of JS framework. So, Facebook is not maintaining every product. So, what is the use, or who should manage the entire life cycle? So, for that we have a package manager which will take care of all the dependencies. You don't need to worry about that, and that is what npm is all about. Now, a simple example would be something like this. You would say app.get. You so now what you are doing over here, let me annotate for you over here quickly. This is your this is your url where your application is being deployed. And once you close this, now from here you have your application coming in. This is the response what you are sending, and over here this application is listening on the port 3000, which means your application is running now. Does it make sense, guys? Any questions around this now? So don't worry, we'll be covering this in the practical example, so don't worry about that. Cool. Taking that as yes, and from here, yes, this is a pure JS code, Rohit. That's correct. Now, the best part, the MongoDB. So, what is MongoDB? MongoDB is a NoSQL based, document based data model. So, what that now till here, my entire data was stored as a form of SQL. What is SQL? A relational database, which tells everything is stored in the form of rows and columns. Now, the problem with this is, since you are doing you're doing SQL, so everything, since it is nothing but rows and columns, you can't add or you can't change the design. Due to which there is a requirement of having a new feature, which led to the you know a new document or a new database, which is MongoDB. Now, what is MongoDB? Everything is a document. Now, the document is stored in the form of field and value. The advantage of having a field and value is that now you don't need to worry about having like having a proper structure or change, or you don't need to worry about a change in structure. Anything is managed by MongoDB. You can just keep on you can keep your schema more flexible, right? Now, what is more interesting in that is, so MongoDB stored JSON. Okay, guys, what is JSON? What does JSON stands for? Yes, guys. Exactly. Now, JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation. What is the purpose of that? So now it is nothing but a normal JavaScript object being stored is MongoDB. Hence, here also this is based on JS. Correct. Cool. Now, the field can be anything. It can be a subdocument, a array, or an array of documents. Now, let us move further. So, what are the advantages? Now it can have any type, so you can store integer values, your string values, everything can be stored over here. And the best part is, since you are embedding documents and since you are having arrays, so what joins were there in SQL are no longer required over here, which means this is a bit more better. Now, it is having dynamic schema due to which it means it will support polymorphism. Yes, inner joins won't be there. There is no need to have that. So you can have them as a part of the database itself. Correct. Now, so how to install MongoDB? The process is a bit different. You will have to go to the MongoDB's website, official documentation. This is the link. Let me copy the link address. I am pasting this link in the chat. But there is a good way of using MongoDB. There is a free MongoDB installation available. We will be using that in the example today. Going further is my introduction to Angular, what we are covering as a part of the session today. Angular is more or less a design framework. Okay, guys, who owns Angular? Yes, guys. Exactly, Google. Yes, Angular is owned by Google. Now, a question for you: what is difference between Angular and AngularJS? Yes, guys, what is the difference between Angular and AngularJS? Okay, now till you are studying, let me explain you one very good thing. Now, once you go to Amazon.com, let us open this good product, which is displayed over here. Now, if you look at this product carefully, what you would find is this product, the UI of this product is very similar to any product for that matter. Now, if I navigate down and if I change a product to say something like this, the structure is same. What does that imply? That implies means this is a single page and everything is existing as it is. So what are the benefits? So the benefit is that you develop one page and the rest is managed on the basis of data. So this is a separate data. This is a separate data. So all such applications are known as dynamic or basically single page applications. And Angular is a language which you can use to write single page applications. Now, to answer the previous question, which is what is the difference between AngularJS and Angular? So all the versions till Angular 1.x were termed as AngularJS, right? Now, post that, they kind of named the next version as Angular 2, after which so even the version the 2 or 789 was dropped, and now they are naming it as purely as Angular. Make sense, guys? Now this is how your structure looks like. I'll explain this, then I'll take a 2 minutes of pause for you guys to come up with any question which you have. A client, what is the client over here, guys? Quickly. Yes. Exactly. Browser is my client. It can even be a front-end application, right? Now, the browser will make a request which will be through Angular. Angular will then send the request to JS, which will be parsed. Node.js will act as a server. On this top, it will be a Express.js, which will look for what needs to be done. Like, do I need to go to database to fetch this? If it needs to go to database, it will get the database that is MongoDB. It will return the response, which is Express, then get back to the request as a response, which will be handled by Node. Node will take this response, take it back to Angular. Angular will show it in a proper manner on the UI on the front end for the client. Does it make sense now? Okay, any questions anyone is having? Guys, I'm taking 2 minutes. Okay. Uh, Now, what is a server? Where are you seeing a server? Where do you see a server? Okay. Yes, guys. So basically, there is nothing like server coming in. The only thing is server is more or less consider a server like, so node is a server over here. So see, don't get confused. So There is a hardware server, like, a server is nothing but a high computing machine, but that machine is illiterate. It needs to understand what it needs to understand. It needs to understand what language is my application talking. For that, we need a runtime, which is node over here. Now, API is nothing but application programming interface. Now, think like this: all over the world. Now, okay, a very common example. Most of you would be using either Android or iOS. Android phones use Java as a language, whereas iOS use Swift. The backend is in a language in database which is in SQL. How do all these communicate? Now, okay, how many of you here understand Hindi? Okay, okay. How many of you here understand French? Yes, guys. Now, if I start delivering the session in French or in Spanish or in German, will you guys be able to understand? Obviously, no. So, to do that, we need a common medium of conversation, which is what APIs provide us. APIs help two heterogeneous systems talk to each other. Now, APIs are of two types, REST and SOAP. That's a different part of the story. Here we are covering about REST APIs. Does it make sense? Making two heterogeneous systems talk to each other is known as a API. Any questions around here? Okay, now we will jump on to something which is single page application. So, what is single page application? In which there is a single HTML page and the user interaction takes place dynamically. That is known as single page application. Correct, guys? Now, what next? Spas are made up of, they make extensive use of Ajax and APIs to create a fluid design, a design in which you don't have to wait. The application is running forever. They make use of JSON and XML with JS to provide this design. And what are the advantages? They give an app-like experience rather than being a website. They are more faster and have a more interactive UI, and they have an ability to even work offline. Now, what do you mean by working offline? Working offline means you don't need to be always online. So they store some data due to which they can help you respond to even offline requests. Okay. Now, they with the use of CSS3, these can work even perfectly on a mobile phone, and they have a responsive web design. Now, any questions around this, guys? Okay, so now let's do like this. While I take a 2 minutes break, I think yes, Venkat, PPTs will be given. Don't worry about that. Let me just turn on my VVS code, and in the meantime, I would request Vivek if he can take it over from here, and if he can explain you guys about the coming live training on mean stack. Vivek, are you there?
Yes, Aditya, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, before I get started, I just want to just let you know while I am also a keen learner, I kind of like the way it's been related to the real world examples. So even a starter or even a person who is actually interested in this but not having a prior knowledge will be actually benefiting out of this because it makes real sense of how you are relating it to real life examples. So that's really very helpful. um, yes, regarding what Aditya was saying, guys, there's something called as a live training session coming up now. In this ongoing session, Aditya is covering most of your questions, most of your queries which you may guys have with regards to any of the learning for mean stack development. We are actually also coming up with live training sessions, which are actually going to be more extensive, going to be having more detailed analysis as well as real life projects. Which are going to be a part of this training session. Well, it's not just going to be one session or a two session thing. It's going to be a very extensive 2 month long session And it definitely it's not going to be a daily activity, it's going to be a weekend activity for you guys. So here, what I wanted to just tell you was about this. If you guys are able to see the screen, it's actually a 2 month long full stack e degree. What we are looking to do here is actually provide you with all the information which we are touch basing upon today. And Aditya is also a part of our instructors. There are global instructors who are going to be a part of this activity completely. The best thing about this is weekends. It's exclusive to 50 seats. We do not want to be having a crowd of 1,000 people, and then you get left out. It's a pure activity wherein we actually focusing uh, on the actual personal growth of a particular individual. And at the end of this as well, I am very sure it's not just going to give you a proper certification, but there will be a proper guidance with regards to your career aspects. People who are concerned about what will I do, how will I proceed, how will this help me a lot. Well, that's the answer which Aditya can definitely give you in this online training session. Well, I will come back to you in a bit right away, but at the moment, I would rather give Aditya the mic so that he can continue with his lovely teaching. And at the end of this, of course, I will have to share the freebies which are going to be shared with you. So please don't go away. We have a few giveaways today, and that would be during this session. Also, I'll let you know a little bit more about this live online training in a bit. So Aditya, once you are ready, just let me know. I'll mute myself.
Sure, I'm good to go. And
Great,
thank you
great.
so
Thank
much.
you. I'll just stop sharing. Thank you, Aditya.
Thank you. And over here I begin now. Guys, confirm me once you're able to see my screen. And with that, okay. How many of you are able to see my screen, guys, now? So while Vivek was taking it over, I did some setup, some small setup for you guys. So you can take, so I'm making a new directory by the name bank app. I am navigating into the directory. I am calling a npm init, which creates a package.json. In the package.json, it is asking me the package name, the version, the description, the entry point, the test command, the Git repository link, the keywords, the author, and the license. And then I say okay. Now, for the sake of this training, we are using Atlas. I'm not very sure of how many of you are aware about it. Atlas is a cloud offering of MongoDB. Now, what do you mean by cloud offering? So, when you use MongoDB, you kind of run it on your own machine, right? You need a server for that. Now, there is a free version of Atlas which you can use, which is on the website cloud.mongodb.com. You can refer over here and you can try to create a free small cluster over here. So I will be using this cluster for the sake of demonstration in the session. Now, all of you, if you are clear till here, then I'll move ahead and I'll include this folder as a part of my application. So I will say bank app OS over here. I say open. Now, what needs to be done over here is in the first part is I need to install few libraries. The first one is my body parser. Now, why body parser? I'll be telling it to you, don't worry. Okay, cool. And next I install Express. Now, most of you would ask, hey, how do we understand what we have to install? For that, it is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. You go to npm and you search for what things you need. I say Express. So you will find the command for Express over here. You just need to copy this command and you need to go over here and paste it. Now let's say I want to use the next library, which is Mongoose. Now what is Mongoose? Mongoose is a kind of an intermediate between the two, between the MongoDB and my code. Now, I would simply copy this over here and I would run this code. And now, so all these modules which I'm talking about, they would now be included in my application. So if I go over here, so these are all the modules coming in. And on the top of the modules, this is now there in my dependencies also. Any questions around here, guys? Anyone? Cool. If there are no questions, I'll move ahead and I'll create the first file, which is app.js. Now, this file is nothing but what you saw as Express example. What we were doing in Express is we were first taking the object of Express, which says require Express. Now, since Express is already imported, I should be able to use it. Now, the next thing which I would take would be my body parser. I'm taking body parser because I need to convert the JSON to my models and my models to JSON and vice versa. Now, I take a account. So what is account? Now, what account is, I will let this part be done in the later second, and I say where app is equal to express. Any questions, guys, still here now? This is nothing but my express up. Now I need to make, or I need to understand or allow express to be used. So what I do for that is I simply go over here and I say app.listen. I hope you remember the code. The code in this one, I need to pass a port which is 1234. Okay. Let's simply pass it like this 1234. Well, let's take a port as a variable. That would make more sense actually. Where port 1234, and I take port over here. Over here, I do it like this, and then I give a callback. And in the callback, I simply say console on the log. What I need to console is server is up and running on port. Any questions still here now? Anyone is having? So by this, it would mean that my server is running. Let us try to go to my application and I say node app.js. So if you see over here, it says server is up and running. Interesting, guys. Any questions? This is the smallest Express node example ever possible. Can we move ahead now? Now, Ashish code will be shared. Don't worry about that. Now, once this is done, so this is all of my Express thing. I need to now set up my Mongoose environment or connect my MongoDB, right? So what I do is I take var okay. So I say var Mongoose. It is equal to, so they say require, and what we require is Mongoose. Now, since it's a library, from there we are getting it. Now we need a dev URL, which I would be using to connect to my MongoDB. To get the URL, I would have to go to my cluster. I would say connect. Sorry. Connect your application. I simply copy paste this URL and in single quotes, I paste this URL. I remove the DB name and I pass a username and a password. Is any questions you have till here now, anyone? Now I move ahead and I say mongoose.connect. And what I connect it with the URL. So once I fire this command, Mongoose will give me a promise. So what is a promise? Promise is a kind of a return which says that this particular request would be succeeded. And once I get a promise, I take a variable of db which is on the mongoose.connection. If in case there is an error and I say on error, what I say is if in case there is an error, I have to now bind my error message. So I say console.error.bind. I bind my message onto the console. This is the location where my message is supposed to come up. And over here I say MongoDB connection error. Correct, guys? Make sense? Any questions here anyone is having? Now let us try to run this thing again. So once I run this, see, it is kind of trying to connect, and you see server is up and running, which means my database is connected. Now, okay, sure, Ruth, I'll do it now. Now, let me try to do some change by kind of giving a wrong password. If I give it a wrong password, ideally it should not be able to connect and I should get an error. Let me close it and let me start it. The server is up and running, and so it says that it is unable to connect. Correct, guys? So, Rahul, if you want to connect to a local database, you would have to use localhost, the port on which your database is listening. So, something like this localhost. MongoDB is by default generally on this port, something like this. So, you would say MongoDB colon double slash, something like this. Does it answer the question, Rahul? Now, if this part is done, let us try to create some models. Now, guys, this is where things getting interesting. So I create a new class and I name it as model. Sorry, I'm getting a new folder. Sorry, model. In the models, I create a new file which is named as account.js. Now, what is supposed to be in this account is nothing but my schema. So I say where mongoose. This is nothing but it says require mongoose. I move ahead, I say where schema. Now, what is schema? Schema is mongoose dot schema. Now, what is the name of the schema? This is my account schema. This is equal to new schema. So schema is already a class available in Mongoose, so not a problem. Here I'll define what it will have. I say the first is a name. I am taking name of a type string. I am saying this is required, it is mandatory, and I give the maximum length as 100. The next thing, let us use as balance since we are working on a banking system, and we say type number, and I say required is equal to true. I'm just taking two things for right now to get started, but you can even utilize more. Now, you are supposed to go and say modules.export, and you say from the mongoose, you say export the model. We name this as the account model, and we pass the name, which is my account schema. Any questions over here, guys? Anyone is having till now? Now, once this model is done, now next thing is we have to create the routes. So what are routes? Like you pass a URL, like whatever URL you pass, how it should actually work on that URL. So guys, any questions till here anyone is having? I'm giving a 2 minutes of break to wait for your questions. I made it in the wrong directory. Sorry. This is model. This is bank app, and over here, guys. Anyone having any questions? Okay. Okay, that's good, Ashish. Thank you. Now, why it is not creating a file over here? Create a new folder over here. Yes, and we create a routes directory. Now, in the routes, we include or we create a new file. I'm again naming it as account.js. Now, what is this file? Now, this file will have express. Right, guys? Now, this file will have a router. So, router is equal to express.router. Now, this file will need a controller. I will park that line and I'll say var account controller. Now let me go back and create a controller over here. Untitled controllers, and in the controllers I create a new one which goes by the name of account.js. I'll close this and over here I say require. Now how is it required? I need to pass the URL and over here controllers, and in the controllers the account controller. So I got the name. Now I have to give a directory or the API endpoints. Listen this thing very carefully. I say router.get. Now by get I define that whenever a user is passing a slash test, then get that test and do what is defined in the controller. Now in the controller, I would say exports.test. Now what it is exporting is a test method, and in the test is nothing but a function which will have a request and a response, and this says response dot send, and what it send it's greeting from the test controller. Correct, guys? So now what we need to do is we need to pick this test up, go to our route and define it by account controller.test. Correct, guys? So now what would happen is whenever user says slash test, he would see the response which goes something like this. Correct? Let's create the other response. Now I create another response which is something like this. If it's a blank one, I will create a method which would be account underscore details underscore all. What I'm doing over here is I will be creating a method which will give me all the accounts for the bank. Correct, guys? Now I cut this, I paste this over here, and now, but I need to understand what account is, right? So I say var account. Now, what is account? Var account is equal to require. Now, from where I will get the account? I will get the account from the model in the account. This is my account. I say account.find. This is a function which will be called. It can either result in an error or will give me the account. Now, sorry. If in case it gives me an error, if error, I say return the error. Okay. And if there is not an error, then the next thing is simply I say result dot send, I say account. So whatever account is coming in over here would be passed back over here. Guys, any questions till this part now? Now, what thing goes next is let us try to export this route so that the other class can get it. Now, if this part is clear, let us try to run this part first and then see what can be done next. Correct, guys? So I'll go to my app.js and I would say var account, what I was importing over here. Now, what is the account? This is nothing but I'm saying require in the routes. Correct? So now what I say is wherever there is app, I say app.use. Now first I need to use a body parser which should understand that the request is coming in the form of JSON. And then the next thing is I paste a body parser which is giving me a URL encoded dot URL encoded, and I say extended is false. This is more from the angle of like if in case there are unenclosed bodies or like the bodies are not in proper manner, I think that should not be allowed. So I pass it false or for that. And the last thing, the most important, I say app.use. Now what is I'm saying is if the request is coming from accounts, then use the account which is over here. Correct, guys? Make sense? Let us try to close our server and start it again. So the server is up and running. It is connected to the database. Now what we will do is first thing is we need to call the test API. So I say localhost and I say accounts. Accounts is nothing, right? Right. First, let's do the slash test. Slash test. So it says greeting from test controller. What it means is my API is working properly. Correct, guys? Any doubts still here now? Anyone is having? Guys, are we all good with this part till now? Okay. Cool. Perfect. Now, the account one is empty. So let us actually create an account first. So what I do is I say now it is a post. Get means I'm getting a request. Post means I'm posting a request. And I say account underscore create. Now what is happening over here in the controller is I will have to copy this, paste it, and I say create. Now the create will have something. Here I will have to get started with my part of the code. Now what is an account? An account is a new account which is coming from the JS. Now what is from the JSON? So what is the name? In the request, in the body. In the request, in the body, whatever is the name, pick that up, and for balance, in the request, in the body, whatever is the balance, pick that up. Make sense, guys? Now I close this part of the code and I say account.save. Now save is a function which I will be using to save to MongoDB, right? So I say function and this will either give me an error or it will give me the inserted account. So if error, I copy this part of the code. If there is no error, I say result.send. Now what I send is something like this. So I say account holder. Now let's pass let's pass the ID which is inserted. So a dot ID created successfully. I'll pass a next line and I pass a, which is to give the whole account. Correct, guys? Ah, yes. Rohit, that's correct. Thanks for that. I'll copy this part and I'll paste it over here. Thanks for the clarification. I missed that part actually. Guys, can I run this now? Now, I run this code. It is running now. To actually create it, I need to have a new account. So I create an account and let's say Eduonix account one. I'm funding it with 50,000 to start with. Correct. I send the request. It is not able to hit. Why? Let's see if it is coming some error. Oh, it's throwing an error. What it says is, okay, throw error. Next is not defined. Okay, just give me a second. Let me see where the error is coming in. Okay, account.js line number 20, account.js line number 20. In controllers, account.js. Let me do it like this. It should work. Not very sure why it's behaving like this. So let me try to insert this now. So I say send. It says path balance is required. Okay, I made a spelling mistake. Okay, wait. I will have to go to models. Oh, my bad, guys. This is perfect. So this is a small mistakes which we often do, right? So make sure if you find errors, don't leave the code. Try and understand where the code is coming in. So see, the account is now inserted, right? This is Eduonix account one. Let us insert another one, account two, account three, account four, and five. Now, there was something which we'll be using to get the account. So I say accounts. So now I'm getting all the accounts which are there. Now, get request can be triggered from the browser also. So if I do something like this, I get all the accounts which are inserted now. Guys, any question anyone is having? I'm giving you 2 minutes to have questions, then we will move ahead with the other with creation of the other URLs or other endpoints. Yes, ID is created by MongoDB default. Now, Dinesh, on that ID, let us try to create a function in which I am getting the account only on the basis of ID. I don't want to get all the accounts. I need to get an account on the basis of ID. So I say find by ID. What is the ID? Request dot params dot ID. Correct, guys? Rest everything will remain the same. I will have to call this part of the code in my route. I copy this route, I paste this route over here. If in case there's an ID, then simply call this. Correct, guys? Let's try to stop this code and run this again. If you see over here, I copied this specific ID. I go to my browser and over here I say slash ID. So now it is giving me only the account which I want. Perfect, guys. Makes sense. Now, since we have got the account which we need, let us try to delete an account which we want. Let's say I want to delete this account now. So what I say is, if there is a slash delete and there's an ID, then delete the account. I will pick this part of the code. See how I'm reusing the code, right? I'm not rewriting the code every point in time. I say find by ID and delete, and I say if there's an error, give me the error. Since the account is deleted, I won't have anything. I would simply say the account won't be here in delete. Account has been deleted. Alright, guys. Let me stop this part of the code. Let me run this part of the code again. So now, oh, there's one mistake which I did, I think. Yes. In the routes, I have to change it to. Guys, any question anyone is having till here now? So over here, I simply change it to delete and I say slash delete slash this ID. It is saying it cannot delete. Why? Let me see. Let me see what the error is throwing. Okay, there is no error on the front end. Okay, no error in the console. Find ID and remove. Okay, wait, let me see the part of the code. This is the ID. And in the controller, I am saying find by ID request.param.id function remove by ID. Let me actually use this URL for that. We use delete because we want things to be quite targeted for that actually. Cannot delete account slash this slash this. Wait. Let me try to rephrase the request. What I'm thinking it could be a good solution is okay, I delete this part. I insert this over here. Now let me try to delete. Okay. But yes, Dinesh. You can't do it on post, but not on get. It's not a good advice actually. So while you are doing it on post, there should be a clear significance. Post is to push data to a server. So all these endpoints are here for a specific reason. I feel I am missing something. Okay, let me see. Let me get this part again. Let me copy this over here directly rather than. Okay. Okay, and this is over here. This ID is this one, and then send. Okay, not able to delete. 4 not 4. Oh, is it because the file is not saved? Yeah, the file was not saved actually. Yes, guys. So it says account has been deleted. Let's go to the browser and let's fetch all the accounts. So you see that the account one has been removed. Guys, any questions anyone is having till here now? Guys, anyone having any question? No question? That's strange. Okay, if no question, then shall I ask you a few questions just to understand if you're able to follow or not? Okay, so now if I have to change this account and I don't want it to be account, what can be a solution? Router? How many of you agree with him or her? Like, I'm not really sure. Pardon me, the gender wise. So, how many of you agree? No. To have this account, this was in the app.js. Got it now? Cool. Guys, can we move ahead now? Now, there is one last thing which I think we can do. Let us try to update the field or update a account. I'm not doing a complex update right now. Like an update can be very complex, fetching a balance and updating it. I'm just doing a simple thing over here. I'm saying a dollar set and I say whatever is coming in the request, update that, the function, and I get the account. Now, once I have the function and the account, if there's an error, I print the error. Otherwise, I print the account. Updated successfully. This is account and this is again account. Now we will name it as account underscore update. I copy this part of the code. I paste it over here. I say, now this is put, guys. So this is put, and over here this is update, and I say, sorry. Correct, guys? Now I'll stop the server. I'll start the server again, and let us try to update a user or update a customer for that matter. So I say update. I'm not having the exact ID. I paste the ID over here. I go to body. I say raw. I give the body as JSON and I simply paste it over here. And I'm not updating the ID. I'm just updating the new and the balance. I would say send. The same thing. Am I missing something again now? ID, update. It has been just a bad day, I feel. You guys are expert, yeah, very good guys. Proud of you. Yes, that's correct. I will have to say put. Account holder is updated. This is the old one. But if I go to browser and I fetch it, I get the new account. Correct, guys? So that was a small example from our side. On this one, it can be done using UI also. For that, we would have something like Angular, and but you will keep that parked for some other parts of the sessions for the webinar. Okay. So this is what we were on. This is how you create a project. And this is something for the bootstrap and all of this. This is how you create new components. All this is in terms of Angular. We have done this kind of thing.